Try this again. This is for real now. I'd like to call the Utility Service Board meeting for May 1st together. If we'd all stand and pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you. Chris, would you call roll, please?
Member Modesto?
Here.
Member Clem?
Here.
Member Williams?
Here.
Member Cannon?
Here.
Member Zilli?
Here.
Member Lynch? Member Aprisco?
Here.
Has anybody heard from Sue?
I have
I
not.
just checked my phone, I did not. So, if you want to,
I'm gonna call her.
yeah, hopefully everything's okay. It's unlike Sue to be late to anything. All right, first order of business on the agenda are claims dockets. Entertain a motion for approval.
Make a motion to approve the claims as submitted.
A second. All right, any questions, comments on the claims? All right, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Claims are approved. All right, we'll move into reports of utility officials. And Mr. Hannon, we'll start with you, please.
Okay.
We're gonna need it. Sorry, man.
You think it was 5:30?
Me and her talked about it, and I thought it was 5:32. Then I looked at the agenda.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mr. Hannon.
Hi.
Everybody got a copy of it. This is the status report for the biosolids project. Project is moving along. Just to be clear, the project consists of basically redoing the entire blower building aeration system for the aerobic digesters, reconstructing the aerobic digesters themselves, basically gutting the aerobic digesters, then putting in the new, what I call filter press. That'll be a thickening device for the biosolids that come out of the aeration system and go to the digester system. So all of that is ongoing, and we're making good progress. This project also includes the biosolids pad, which has been a topic of discussion lately. The issue is that the groundwater table is a couple feet higher than it was when the soil borings were taken. The question is, what do we do about that? The engineer, Structure Point, is working with the contractor and their soils expert and their structural engineer to look at options. One option that I put on the table a couple days ago is that, the system is designed, the pad was designed for the groundwater table to be at a certain level. We expect that groundwater level to be there sometime, maybe late summer or early fall. And one of the options I put on the table is, why don't we wait till the groundwater table goes down and build a pad? So all of that is in the hopper being worked on. We don't have a recommendation at this time. I'd say we're a week or two away from having a recommendation on that. Other than that, everything's proceeding well on that project. Don and Carl are both here. They have, day-to-day knowledge of the activity at the plant itself. I would recommend that you stop down at the plant and take a look at the progress that's been made. The second topic, if you don't have any questions.
Yeah, I think we do have some questions and maybe discussions in regard to the biosolids pad.
Okay.
and the situation that exists with the water table being higher than we anticipated, obviously causing a problem to pour concrete under those conditions, correct?
Yes.
I'm not an engineer, so you can correct me if my...
That's exactly the case.
Right. So I guess one of the questions that I have, and I think maybe other members have as well, is what prompted, other than Mother Nature, what prompted us to realize that we had a problem? Obviously, there were soil borings taken at some point in time, and someone said everything's fine. Now we have soil borings that are producing results that are not favorable. How did that come about?
Yeah, I think
Does anybody else have a concern about that?
yeah, my perspective.
Am I alone? Okay.
No,
All
you're not alone, you're
right,
not
thank
alone,
you.
you just answered what I think all of us were wondering the same thing.
All right, thank you.
Perspective is the borings were taken in September of probably 2016 during the design phase. The groundwater table was where it was at that time. When the contractor mobilized to the site and started excavating, it was found that the groundwater table was higher. My analysis of that is that we've had a very wet, cold fall, winter, spring, and the groundwater table is at its, what I would call, seasonal high at this point. There's every reason to expect that at some point, the groundwater table will go back to its, call it, seasonal low sometime after a period of dry weather.
What if it's a rainy summer?
Well, then we will have high groundwater table for a while. Again, I'm not here with a recommendation. We can build the pad today. There's no question about being able to build a pad. The question is, how much money do we want to spend building? We can build with a high groundwater table.
Does it affect it? Let's assume September, the groundwater goes down, we build the pad, and next year the water goes back up. Does it affect the as-built product?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. The answer is, what I said to the designers and the contractor is, well, we know where the high groundwater table is now. Let's verify that number, right? Let's say it's 2 feet higher than we expected it to be. We now know that number. We need to do two things. Number one, we need to be able to build the pad. Building with a high groundwater table, basically, if you think about these large pieces of equipment driving on wet sand, the sand becomes liquid.
Sure.
You can't really, you can't build on that. Now, when the sand is dry and you can run your equipment on it, you might be able to build without any problem at all, just as was expected. So, buildability is the first question, serviceability, long-term, is the second question. Now that we know where the high groundwater table is, we can analyze whether we've got that pad elevation at the proper elevation. If it needs to be adjusted, that would be a recommendation we need to raise it up. So we've asked that very question. What we don't have today are answers.
I'm just sort of, John, I know last month when we met, Mr. Chairman, last week, I know when we met last month, the question that I asked you is when they did the soil test, you claimed that I think they did 3 tests. You made a mention of 3 tests for soil. It's just, I don't know, it just seems really weird because if I was a person purchasing land, I would make sure that the soil was right no matter what before I even hired somebody. And we've spent a lot of money with this engineering firm, and what bothers me is how much more money they're going to keep spending to change plans. I mean, to date, what you sent us, they've spent $370,000. The engineering, correct? If I'm reading your report correctly. I mean, how much more money are we going to spend? And what Scott said, I just want the thing to be correct. I don't want a year or two from now, we have a pad out there that's cracking or any other type of issue.
Floating.
It's
Whatever.
not floating.
I have a recommendation.
One thing it won't do is float. It's a 12-inch thick concrete slab. It's not going anywhere. Now, what we don't want, that's a good point. But what we also don't want is the water migrating up through the structures.
Mr. Chairman, can I just finish with my question?
Yes, you may.
So let me ask you this question, John. How much more monies are we gonna spend as board to have this company come out and to evaluate, like you're saying, more soil tests, their engineering, more engineering? What's that gonna cost us?
They're working under a contract that they have with you at this time. They're not asking for any extra money at this time. The
Somewhere down the
370 that
road.
you see, the 370 you see there is being paid to the contractor. That's Thieneman's money. That's 370 out of the $2.89 million contract.
How much have we paid them currently, the engineering firm, Structure Point?
I don't have that figure in front of me.
The contract was what, 290?
I think I emailed it out.
I think it was 290 total.
Did you ask for
Yeah.
it? You asked for it?
It's gotta be over.
Asked for it.
I didn't, it wasn't.
No, not for the engineering.
You know, this,
No.
I mean, that's, Mr. Chairman, that's all I have. I'm just really worried.
anybody else have any comments before I, say what I'm gonna recommend at this point? I do have a, go ahead.
So if we,
Member Modesto, you have the floor.
Okay, I got a question for you, John. So you're saying that we're gonna wait till the water table goes down and then?
No, what I'm saying is, that was my idea.
Okay,
That I threw in the hopper. There are several alternatives being investigated this time.
one of the alternatives, is it pilings put down, or put out, or? And again,
Of sorts, yeah.
I gotta agree with Mark. I know if we put pilings, it's gonna be a lot more expensive. So we're gonna have to do a change order. And I'm thoroughly upset that we didn't know this going in, that this property had a high water table. And why weren't the borings done when the water table was supposed to be high? I think most engineers know when the water table's high. So I'm very upset that it wasn't done when the water table was up high in the spring. It was done in the fall.
Those are good questions. Right now, the contractor is working with the geotech firm, the structural engineer, and the contractor to come up with alternatives. There are several alternatives. Pilings are one of them. Anything along that line, then we're talking dollars. If we follow my thought would be to basically build it at the contracted price. That's
All right.
what I'm
I have
asking
a
for
question.
this time.
Sure. Member Cannon.
So if we build it on the top of the, say right now, on the top of the high part of the water table, and the water table goes down, what will happen to the concrete? Will it, to Liz's point, will it sink? Will it go down with it?
The pad will be locked into place. That's the job. The job is, we're not worried, whatever gets built is not gonna be moving.
So the water table is going to go up and down all the time,
Yeah.
and
Like it does on.
on everything else. So
Like
we
it
already.
does under this building.
So we knew, obviously the engineers knew that no matter when they took the boring samples, they knew that there was gonna be rising and lowering of the water table.
Yeah, they didn't expect it to be where it is.
Higher than what they expected.
It's higher than it was.
Thank you, sir.
I differ with you. Can I have? I'm sorry.
Yeah, go right ahead.
And I'll let you have it. Yeah. I beg to differ with you about sinking because you have a big, huge casino out in Las Vegas called the Luxor that sank like I don't know how many feet, and they had to redo the whole foundation, tear it down, and redo the whole thing, and put like 50 foot of pilings in because it was built on basically the same thing. And it kept sinking and sinking and sinking, and so I tend to disagree with you. If you're, especially if it's an underground spring, who knows if there's an underground spring there? I mean, have they checked for that?
We know that the groundwater table is high in that entire region.
Well, we have Yogi Bear down the street, and that was nothing until they started digging for the toll road.
I'm just saying, we're building the Field Forces building next door. We've been dealing with the water there. We're dealing with it, in the plant. The groundwater table is high, as you wouldn't, it wouldn't be a bit surprising.
All right.
I have a question.
But
Let the record reflect that Member Lynch has joined the group.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. I'm not trying to put you on the spot. I just want to make sure that everybody knows you.
Do I get a tardy mark?
Yeah.
John, I have a question. So then, how much weight is
allowed to put on that biosolids pad once you put the sludges on there? I mean, aren't vehicles gonna be driving on it as well? And so my fear of all that weight being on there with that water under there, is there times you can't drive on it because the water table's high?
Nope. None of that will be a concern.
So I guess.
Find that out
when it's built.
afterwards.
I guess my question is.
What I'm saying is, we don't have an answer for you today. The answer we bring to you will be an answer that will be such that you won't have to have those concerns.
Well, maybe they need to come talk to us, Mr. Chairman.
And that was gonna be the direction I was gonna take this, Member Lynch. Go ahead, Pat, you have a question?
Thank you, Chairman. My question is, and I may have missed it, you said the water table is high. How high is it? How high is
A
that?
couple feet higher than expected.
What is that from elevation down? Is it 3 feet, is it 10 feet?
It's, depending on where you are on the site, because the site,
Well, where the pad's gonna be?
it's about,
It's down 2 foot, we need to remove about 18 inches of topsoil.
it's about down 2 feet below surface.
And why do we need to replace topsoil? If we're already got a water table?
Well, we gotta take the topsoil out, you can't build on topsoil.
Okay.
You gotta
Now,
build
let me ask you this, John, please.
That sounds good.
Right.
Did you say this was gonna be a suspended or a type of,
Right now, it's just a slab.
it's a slab, there's no camber to it, no tension rods in it, no nothing
No,
to
it's
support
got
the weight?
1% slope from north to south,
It's just a slab,
just a slab.
okay.
So is our current pad right now on this, it has the same situation? I mean, we drive off and on.
P4 is fine, structurally fine.
Right.
We have been looking at this groundwater table and asking ourselves, maybe do we have some water coming up through that floor that we never really thought about before? I don't know that we have an answer, but, you know, once we dug the hole, it was like, wow.
Wow, that was going on here.
Yeah.
Sure.
I got one more question, Scott.
Sure.
What the other process that you were talking about when we got into discussion before,
Post-tensioning, yeah.
would that alleviate the problem?
No, no, the groundwater table is the problem. We have to be able to work in soil far enough above that groundwater table to not liquefy the site while we're doing our activity.
Sure.
However, if we're waiting till next summer or late summer or fall to do this, we'll have a lot of opportunities to say, should we rebid this portion of the project? Should we just wait? Should we go with alternatives, the post-tensioning versus the slabs? And those options will be available to us as we look at the alternatives.
So John.
More too as well. Now what about putting in a dry well, or not dry well, but a pump system below to irrigate that out of there?
Yeah, that's dewatering. Dewatering is one typical approach to doing this. Dewatering is very expensive.
That's
And
right.
so I'm reluctant to even talk about that option.
John, are we confusing two issues here? I think we have the ability to construct and the usability of the pad. The groundwater, where the groundwater is, isn't going to affect it once it's built. It's the building portion of it that it's affecting now, right? That's my understanding of this.
From my perspective, it's both.
Okay.
My question is usability, and now that we know that what I'm going to call the high groundwater table, I don't think it's going to get any higher than this. I don't think it's going to get any higher than this. Now that we know that elevation, we're going to make sure that whatever we build is not going to be affected when we again experience high groundwater.
Got it. Thank you.
Anybody else? All right, here's what I'm going to recommend, because this project is obviously becoming a lot more confusing than we anticipated. And we're not engineers. But we do have a tremendous fiscal responsibility to make sure that that $2.89 million is spent properly and it's managed. So what I'm going to recommend is that once American Structure Point, Dieneman, the contractor, has some options in place. I would ask Ken, because hopefully there won't be any legal issues, but you never know with this type of discussion, and myself, we'll meet with them to gather the facts, to gather our alternatives, and then be able to effectively communicate back to this board what our options are. Because I really want to hear this firsthand. I'm really, I want to take the lead on this as chair. I hope the group doesn't mind. I'm very concerned about a number of things that I'm not going to talk about at this point, some of which I've observed. And so I'm going to recommend that as a next step. Is everybody okay with that?
Yes, I'll make a motion to that effect.
Second.
All right. Chris, would you call roll on that?
Can I just ask one question, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, you may.
As far as money's being spent, are we just gonna halt the work then, basically, at this stage?
Well, I think
except for the work with John, Ken, and yourself, and Ken, I mean, the
Well, I
job
think
site itself.
that's part of the issue, Mark, is because there's other pieces to this project that can move forward under the bond, under the money that we've appropriated, that are outside the scope of the biosolids plan. So, I guess, if, unless the board feels otherwise, we probably should continue with that pieces of the project.
I agree with that, but we're gonna see some of the pad.
Right, but that's part of the clarity that I want to get. I want to know exactly what can be done now and what we're going to have to pay for it, what potentially needs to be put on hold, and what are the consequences of that. Okay?
Yep.
All right, thank you. Did we call roll on that?
Yeah. Member Modesto?
Yes.
Member Clem?
Yes.
Member Cannon?
Yes.
Member Zilli?
Yes.
Member Lynch?
Yes.
Member Prisco?
Yes.
Member Williams?
Yes. Okay. John, I know there's another piece that you're going to come up and talk about, the Dunkin' Donuts piece. So
What I'd like to do is, at least under engineering report,
yes,
is talk about the west side interceptor.
please.
Because that'll be better news.
Nothing breaking?
The CIPP liner is completely in. The 5 manholes that were to be reconstructed have been reconstructed. We are in the last 24 hours of the curing for the 5 manholes that have been rehabilitated. It's expected that sometime tomorrow the bypass system will be shut off, and the contractor will be able to demobilize all of that bypass equipment that you see out there.
How long are they gonna sit and make sure it's been cured and it's a success
Tomorrow.
before they start tearing down?
Tomorrow.
It is, okay.
Yeah, for the manholes, the liner is in.
Now, are they gonna remove this equipment within how many hours, how many days, how many?
I didn't ask that question. All I know is the bypassing is, we're expected to turn the bypass pumps off sometime tomorrow. And then it'll take some period of time to demobilize.
Okay, because we are inconveniencing some residents over there with this project, and we'd like to get that all removed as soon as possible.
Good.
Thank you, sir.
That's good news.
Great
John.
news, John.
Yeah, it's great news. Thank you.
Yeah, and that's a major project. I mean, to have this repaired, it's been in the works for a while, so that's a great accomplishment.
All right. That's the only thing I have. We can address the Dunkin' Donuts issue when it comes up on the agenda.
All right, very good. Thanks, John. Mr. Zilli, you have a report?
Sure, yes. We did biosolids and West Side Interceptor on the Field Forces building. The project is on track. There were some upgrades needed to the structure. Dave, correct me if I'm wrong, it was the office part of the structure, right?
Yes, they had to, they put the pylons a certain depth on the building portion. They didn't do it on the office section, and we just made it all equal across the board. Okay.
They started putting up walls. I did drive out there, so the building is starting to go up today. So it's on track for an August completion. Central Avenue East, the bid was awarded by NDOT. They are moving along on the project. Every utility except for the Frontier fiber optic line has been moved. As you know, Frontier is going through possible bankruptcy, so they're still working to see if Frontier is gonna come out anytime soon and get that done. Have we had any word from anybody?
I don't know. Not from me.
Yeah, as of our last project meeting, we haven't heard anything from Frontier. So Sandy is the lead on that project, but other parts of the project can move forward while we're waiting on Frontier. So the whole project doesn't stop. On the Willow Creek Regional Detention System, the city's in land acquisition now. So that project's moving along. Once the land is secured, the county is going to bid out the project. They're doing the construction of it. We did the design and land acquisition. On CIPP in the neighborhoods, they are in Savannah Heights now, moving through north to Robbins. There is an issue on Angelina. It's going to require us to dig down to the pipe to repair the pipe, just like they had to do on Atlanta. So that part of the project is underway. Dan has asked the same contractor that did Atlanta to just go ahead and do the one on Angelina as well. And then with Atlanta, they'll be out Monday. Did you say Monday? Or next week? Yeah, to finish restoration and fix the dip in Lute Road, because that dip is still there. So that'll be taken care of next week. Dombey Road, there's no new update since last month. The compost site, the deed is being recorded to show that we own the land, so that problem has been solved. We're currently using general services for the public, open to the public for the composting site. And really, other than that, there's no update on any of the other projects unless Ken has anything on Fifth Street with the legal action.
I do not.
But I think we're putting it out to bid.
Right.
Oh, we're putting it out to bid.
At the next meeting.
Yeah, I got a question.
Next meeting we'll have
So I did get an email from Attorney Lane.
Bids.
Hold on, go ahead, Kenny.
I did get an email from Attorney Lane this afternoon asking if it was going out for bid tonight or next month, so I'll report that back.
Okay.
Well, I think that you guys approved to go out to bid last month. Or
Yeah, we approved it last month.
And then one other one, the Brant Street, the dry wells. Dave, where are we proceeding on that? We haven't?
Where's Dan at today? Isn't that here?
Dan's off.
He's off for Mr. Gannon, I guess.
Right, the survey is scheduled for next week. For that street.
Brant Street?
For Brant Street.
What about Dombey? Where's that at? I know Dan was supposed to be the project.
Contracts are under review.
Contract is under review for Dombey?
Yeah.
Okay.
So go back to Fritz Street. I thought we agreed to
We
do.
just didn't get it out.
Okay, all right.
Okay, we got a lot going on, so.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. We understand.
Any questions directed to Colin on his great report? Your committee's doing well. Thank you, Colin. Appreciate that report.
Meet again this month before June's meeting.
All right. So we continue to have drainage projects on the agenda. Anything else?
I talked with Dave earlier. There's really no major issues right now that we're dealing with. I'm sure we're supposed to get some rain Wednesday night into Thursday, quite a bit of it. So we'll see if any new issues arise, but there aren't any serious issues that have been dealt with. So, unless Dave has something that's come up in the last 2 hours. Okay.
You know, I see the, I'm sorry, Karen and Jesse back there. Karen's making faces. Is there a problem over there on Brant Street right now?
We can't get the ducks to quit swimming in front of our house.
You still have a lot of water there?
Oh, yeah. I mean, if you would come when the big rain is coming the next couple of days, if any of you would come when it rains, it's there. It's like a mini lake in front of our house. It hasn't changed.
But it's dry now.
Well, there's no rain right now.
Well, you said the ducks were swimming. I was just.
It was.
Okay, I thought maybe.
Last time it rained,
Yeah.
most people didn't even know it.
Because I drove down there today and I didn't see any ducks, so that's why I was wondering.
I took pictures of the ducks.
We understand.
swimming from the house.
I understand when it rains.
That's why we're
Sorry,
trying to
survey
get
it,
it.
they did that today.
They did the survey today?
Were we out there today?
Good.
Well, I mean, stated that they were swimming out there today. I mean,
So
Keep moving on these two
I was going to say, if the survey was today, when can we expect the next part of that project to start then?
Dan and I'll have a plan for you at your next meeting.
Perfect. Thank you.
I would like to have it started before our next meeting.
Well, I think we'd like to hear the plan.
I would like to see Dombey Road started before our next meeting too.
The Dombey contracts are reviewed, I just need to email Jim. So that should be tomorrow.
Okay. I don't drag my feet out, and drag our feet out on the project.
I don't know if it's the right time or not.
Wait till Dave comes in.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, budget.
We don't have any report on the budget, but we are going to be getting with Chris again now, since there's some additional expenses, just to make sure we're okay.
All right, thank you. We'll have our plant report. Tom?
Yeah, so we're at the end of the month, we, in full compliance with all the parameters. We had one bump in the E. coli, exceeded the daily maximum, number, but in our permit, we can take 10% a month off if we have a high number. Item allows us to do that, because we put all brand new, we use UV disinfection, we put in all brand new bulbs, and we don't know if because they're aftermarket, they're causing us some issues. And we've ordered some bulbs from the manufacturer to replace, to see if that's what caused that.
Oh, okay.
So we're not real sure that's a real technical kind of thing for us. But outside of that, everything else is going.
All right.
What about the foam from last month you talked to us about?
Well, we still haven't. We had numbers, but those were not conclusive to, they showed a no detection in the areas that we sampled in. So it's still like a needle in a haystack. We're still getting on a daily basis.
Oh, sorry. Do you want to ask me something else in regard to the foam?
What could have changed from the time there was no foam to there is foam? What is there? A new process? A new?
There can be commingling between the city side itself and the industry side, can combine together. I mean, we got. It's kind of unusual because years ago we never had any of that, and then all of a sudden we have.
When did it start again?
I can't attribute it to anything.
When did it start again? What was it? In January or?
There's some theories out there. They're thinking that some of this may have to do with the high efficiency washers and dryers. And the way the foam comes to the plant, it's not showing up to be a definite any one source. And it seems to be more, as we get more towards a drier flow, like we're in right now, the foam becomes more prevalent. When we dilute out with rainwater, the foam seems to dissipate a little bit. So we're starting to fall in line. I think one of the bigger issues we need to be looking at would be grease. We do grease and oils, and greases can do the same thing. They can create a surface active agent, which is a surfactant, just like a soap. So it could be a combination of both. We had the rain event several months ago where we got 4 inches of rain. That cleaned the sewers. In 3 days, it brought in over 10,000 pounds of household grease. In 3 days. It's a lot of grease.
So these things that we're talking about here, is this out of the ordinary? Is this happen in cycles? I mean, it seems like the grease and the foam and all these things are becoming more prevalent. And I mean, has it always existed, I guess, or is it something that we're being hit with that's out of the ordinary?
The foam is on a continually worsening basis with the weather. It's just like you guys were talking about the groundwater. That big lake out there affects the groundwater in the city horrendously. The city floated a tank, and I won't say the city did, the utilities. We floated a primary clarifier probably 6, 7 years ago out of the ground because positive relief valves failed. It's a concrete tank. It's huge. I have no idea what it weighs. But it literally tried to rise up out of the ground because of the groundwater in this area. We did a survey at the plant and checked the groundwater for several months. We had wet wells where we checked it. And depending on which way the wind blew on Lake Michigan, affected the groundwater in the ground because we're so close to it.
Do you guys have like a informational flyer about household grease and what not to put down drains that we can send out in the next bill?
We actually do. We can submit submit it again. We
Yeah,
issued it as a
I gave it to you back in January.
Is that same one? That's that one you want? Okay. We'll run that. It's probably too late to get into the May bill, but we'll definitely get it out in June.
There you go.
John had another
So
question.
when did the foam start?
Well, we've had it for a few years where we had
No, I mean
instances where
this event.
this particular,
Yes.
we probably noticed it in January. Right? It's ongoing, it goes away, it's just hard to.
It's more in line with the flow. If the flow goes above 4.3 million gallons to the plant in a day, the foam starts to dissipate. As the flow drops back around 4 million, 4.3 million, the foam starts getting worse to the plant. So it's concentrating. At the beginning of the year, we got hit several times. It's probably first of the year cleaning by some of the industries. It's really hard to track it down unless you're right there with the delay on our wet wells and that. You're not going to ever find it. We could spend a ton of money trying to blueprint it. What they do is called fingerprinting it.
Did you have another question for him, John?
Well, no.
Okay. How does this affect compliance? You know, are we in compliance even though we have this additional grease and foam? Is this a compliance issue?
It could be. I've gotten clarity. We went out to the outfall to look at Burns Waterway. And if it goes past a certain spot, he said he would cite us. But we check it to make sure. We also have used the defoamer that, you know.
And we are communicating with, is this an EPA and IDM, both EPA and IDM issues?
IDM inspector when it comes to the plant.
Yeah. So we're being completely transparent with them and they know the status.
Absolutely.
No surprises.
That's why I took them out there to say, hey, look what's, you know.
So IDEM's been with you and you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right, Don. Unless you have something else, anybody else have any questions?
Thanks, Don.
Thank you, Don.
Thank you, Don.
Good job, Don.
Thank you very much.
Carl,
Good job,
It's
Don.
tough. It's tough.
Good job.
Thanks, Carl. Good job.
Thanks, Carl, for your input. Sounds like you're a foam expert. All right, Mr. Littleton.
Short and sweet, outside our weekly report and everything John Hannon took care of. The only thing we got new is our rain barrel program started last week.
I shared it.
That's it. Unless you guys have any questions for me?
I do.
Yes, sir.
I sent some photos to you this week of Willow Creek, north of Lute, south of Stone. Yeah. And what's the status on getting
Been there yet?
those two beaver dams cleaned up?
Right. Haven't been there yet. It's on my list. I plan on getting out there probably next week or so. Just been having a problem. I'm gonna be down to 3 part-timers, and those are the guys that take care of that.
I understand we were at Lute there at the other issue.
Yes, the
Swanson
one
and
you
Lute.
asked me about before. I did have to do that.
And that's all cleaned out. Looks great. What was the deal there? Is it just clogged full of?
Yeah, it just has a lot of little sapling trees growing in the ditch and garbage getting in there and just creating a nuisance.
There's 2 more beaver dams in Willow Creek, by the way.
We'll get there.
I have a question.
Yes.
Dave, I know I brought up too about Brookline before, that cul-de-sac over there and the 3 homes that took in, sanitary water during that last rain. I spoke to John about it at our project meeting. Had you had a chance to look into that, John? Because I know the one family did put in a check valve now, but the other 2 haven't, but they're fearful that rain's gonna happen again and that's gonna back up in there. And when I spoke with John, he seemed to think there was a problem there.
We need to go out there together and verify, because it's an isolated problem. Sounds like 3 basements, it's in a neighborhood, and if the problem is isolated to those 3 basements, it makes me suspect that we've got a problem right there in that line.
We need to do that though before it rains, seriously, because I see those people constantly and they're always asking me,
Can you put it on your list?
Where's this at, Sue?
Yep, or just look for it, she's gonna set up an appointment for me and Johnny to talk to them.
Yeah.
Go out there and look at it.
Yes.
Where's Brookline?
It's, is it Brookview or?
Bel Air.
Brookline.
It's Bel Air.
It's,
Yeah, it's off of
Bel Air.
Boulder.
Bel Air.
Boulder and
7.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We'll check it out.
Got a number of priorities that we will address, correct? All right.
Friday, we have an appointment Friday morning. Will you send us out an email, sir?
Yes, we will.
Thank you.
Friday morning for what?
We have a complaint on Parker in regards to some repairs and damage. And so we're gonna be reviewing that. Correct, Mr. Clem?
We're gonna find out.
Yep, we are.
There you
Okay.
go.
So good.
Thanks, Dave.
All right, thank you, Dave.
Thanks, guys.
Dave?
Any unfinished business? All right, new business. John, you're back on the Dunkin' Donuts sewer extension.
Okay, Scott told me he shared this with you, and I also put copies on your desk in front of you. We have the representative of the developer is here also, if you have any questions for him directly, from Precision Builders. Basically, and the members who've been on the Plan Commission might remember this, but the Plan Commission approved a plan for what we call the Dunkin' Donuts building, but it's really a 3-unit retail store immediately south of the loop station at 20 and Christian. That property, let me back up. For some reason, I can't even explain why, there is no sanitary sewer on Chrisman Road between Highway 20 and Old Port Road. So when that road was improved, for some reason, sanitary sewer didn't get extended through that area. So all those homes that you see along through there are on septic tank. The Dunkin' Donuts people came to us. We spoke with them and their engineer about extending, so what they would have to do to connect to the sewer. Basically what they would have to do without any participation on our part is run their lateral out of their property north on Chrisman Road, across all those drives, the west property line of the gas station, and hook up to the sewer that runs east and west on the south side of 20. They'd have to break into that sewer and bring the lateral all the way to their property.
John, is there sewer on the west side of Chrisman Road there?
There's no sanitary sewer.
Between where Denny's is and Old Porter?
No, Denny's is hooked up to the sewer on 20.
Okay.
There's a sewer that runs east and west on 20, on the south side of 20.
Okay.
All the facilities that you see on 20 are hooked up to that.
Okay.
This property is the next one back from there. So
But I'm talking about south of Denny's to Old Porter.
There's nothing.
There's homes in there.
there's no
Would you be
sanitary
running that
sewer.
line there too?
There's no sanitary sewer on Crispin Road between 20 and Old Porter Road.
On either side of
On
the
either
street.
side of the road.
On either side. So would that service either side?
Yeah, that's what we do. We run a sewer down the road, it becomes the sewer for both sides.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do it once.
Okay, so they're gonna have to run the lateral. They're gonna have to spend that money for themselves. What we asked them to do was to go ahead and show on their plans a sewer extension from our sewer on 20, south on Chrisman, all the way to their south property line. So that's, if you look at your drawing, that's basically what it shows. If you look at the McMahon drawing, you'll see the bottom of the page, there's a manhole there. That's basically their southwest corner of their property. So the plan would be to extend an 8-inch sewer from our existing sewer in 20 south to their south property line. It's a distance of 540 feet and includes, I think, 5 manholes, 1, 2, maybe 4 manholes.
C3.
It'll be an 8-inch sewer. We've done the study to verify that it'll be a sufficient depth to run to tie onto that and continue the line all the way to Old Ford Road in the future when appropriate, when it's decided to do it. So basically, it's an opportunity. They're planning on spending a bunch of money to put a lateral in. If we cooperate, work together, we get a sewer extension, they get their lateral connection, and we save some money. So I've estimated that if we were to put this 540 feet of line in with the manholes, we would spend over $60,000 sponsoring that. The developer has asked us to participate in their project precisely at $33,060. And I'm not sure, did I include this?
Yeah.
I think I included.
Yeah, we got it.
So that's basically what they're asking for, and I'm recommending that. I recommended it at the Plan Commission meeting when it was approved, and we're here today to recommend that you participate at that level, and then their contractor will install the sewer. The only thing we need to do is to sponsor the IDEM permit for a sewer extension. If they were just putting a lateral in, they wouldn't need an IDEM permit. But if we're doing a sewer extension, IDEM permits are required. So we would sponsor the IDEM permit and participate financially at $33,060.
Yes, yes, John. Now, and who's gonna do the final inspection on this?
Dave and his people always do all of the final inspections.
What's the IDM permit cost?
I estimated in the memo, you'll see we estimated $2,000.
Oh, that's right, I read that, sorry,
This is the
sorry.
total cost,
Sorry.
$33.60. You basically will write them a check at some point in time when the project's complete.
$33.60.
Right. And then authorize the IDEM permit, which we'll do in-house.
What if it's less money? How about if it's less money if we were to make a motion to go ahead and do this? Let's say it comes in less than that.
Just make the motion not to exceed 33.
No, I would recommend you just lock it in, and if they get any extras or anything, that you're not committed to anything beyond this number. That's what I would do.
But he's thinking it might be cheaper, I think.
I'm not sure.
I don't know.
I've seen that.
I think that's what Mark's saying.
They've got quotes from Corey Golf is going to be doing the work.
Could be less.
Did you want to make a motion, Mr.?
I have a question for Chris first.
Okay.
Do we know where these funds would come from? Because at this point, I don't know where these funds are gonna come from. It's a great idea, but if there's no funds there to do it.
How's your field budget looking?
I can't pay for that.
Wow. Mr. Chairman, can I ask a question?
Yes, you may.
Mr. Hannon, you had said earlier, somehow I missed it, I don't know what it is today, it's a long day. How many houses did you say are on septic in this area?
Every house between Highway 20 and Old Ford Road.
Except for the gray house that's on the northeast corner. Is that on Old Ford?
Would this be a benefit to them? Would this be a benefit to the homeowners?
Not if they don't run the line. I'm getting the opinion that
It's gonna
you're
stop.
gonna run that and it's gonna stop, and that at some point later on, you will continue on towards Old Porter. Am I correct?
No, it's gonna go straight to Old Porter.
No.
This will be available for future extension.
Future.
Not, yeah, this is just to the edge of their property.
When it's decided.
Wait, hold on. John, can you say that again, because they were talking, now go ahead.
Sorry.
And just don't scuffle people.
This is available for extension when it's decided to extend it. That would be a decision that the city would make, or, for example, maybe a developer will come in and buy some of that property and another project will be in front of you. You know, there's no predicting the future in that regard. But this will be available for extension. That's the key. That's the key.
Okay.
It's not, let me back up. It's not necessary to do this, okay?
That's what I was gonna ask.
It's not necessary to do this. This is an economic decision on your part. At some point in time, presumably, we will want sewers on Crispin Road.
And we can still
I don't think
do it,
we'll
right?
ever get it cheaper than, oh yeah, you can always do it at any time.
Then you're gonna foot the whole
But
project.
you'll foot the whole bill.
And but we're still just extending this past his to the end of his south side of this property.
South, yeah.
And so where is he gonna have to stop now? Is he gonna have to stop in the middle of the
No,
property?
no, he would stop basically at his north end.
Very north
And he
end?
could build a lateral that would not be available for extension. It could just be a lateral.
So he's coming right along the north side.
Yeah, and charge it on the time.
Right.
What's the estimated tap-on fee for this one?
That I don't know. It's a 3-unit retail store. Depends on the water meter.
Because John, I'm trying to get it paid for, so.
I understand.
We're gonna have a tap fee.
Depends on the water meter
We can
size.
allocate that.
It's an inch and a half.
Oh, I got you.
Inch and a half.
Inch and a half water
Inch and a
meter.
half to supply the building.
Okay, so what's the tap-on?
There's one building, there's gonna be two, right?
Are you talking a few thousand or 10,000 or?
I don't think it's 10,000.
My thought was if just dedicate that to pay for it.
I might have it in email.
What's the size of this building? What's the size of this building, sir? I mean, what's the size of your building?
I would say it's, under 5,000 square foot total.
Under 5,000?
It's not very big.
For 3
It's
units?
only, Dunkin' Donuts is gonna occupy a 2,000 square foot space, and then there's basically a 1,300 square foot space for each of the additional units, which is very similar to what we did in Munster. It's the same, it's all standard. It's all standard customary, so.
All right, is there any more questions to Mr. Hannon in regard to?
I guess my question is if you're building one building, we only approved one building on that lot, right?
There is only one building.
You approved the retail development,
Okay, so,
which
3 units.
includes the retail space of Dunkin' Donuts and these other two possible.
so it's
9,860.
That black,
Yeah.
that black rectangle.
So that gets us close.
I got it.
Did you hear that, Courtney?
So
You wanna report
basically
that
10
number in,
grand.
please?
An inch and a half is $9,860.
Is that
Per unit?
No, that'll be for the whole building.
one water meter?
Got
it.
And then they split.
Got it, okay.
And the water meter's gonna split?
The inch and a half goes to a meter room, and then the meter room will split.
For the other, three of those?
So,
All
So
right.
then the.
We're gonna have to cut, I mean, we can, just as long as everyone knows, we gotta cut it out of their.
Into one pipe and then go off the property and it's gonna be one pipe.
Isn't from the tap-on fee, and then I only have to find 23,000.
All right, we got a couple discussions going on here, let's, come to order if you could, please. All right, so, I think this is probably, from a fiscal standpoint, a sound idea. The question is the additional appropriation in money. With the tap-on fee, that's gonna offset some of it, correct?
Yes.
All right, so it should reduce it by that amount, 9,000 and some change. The Chair would entertain a motion one way or another, up or down, in respect to what we're gonna do here.
I'll make a motion to approve and not to go past $33,060, and if the bill is less, then we would pay half of that less amount.
And,
Wait a minute,
wait, hang on.
Okay, got a second? Any question on the motion?
Mike, sorry.
Go ahead, Pat.
No.
I didn't hear you on that, Mark. Would you please say that again, please, sir?
Make a motion that we go ahead and approve $33,060 and not to go past that amount as our half amount.
Right.
And if it's less, if the project comes in less, then we pay that amount.
The lesser amount.
Let's say it's 54,000, so we pay 27,000.
I second that.
Oh, we have a second.
Oh.
Do you have a question on that, Chris?
Two things. One is, I don't think we're paying half, right?
No,
We're paying the delta, right?
The entire, for us to bring the total development is just under 140,000.
Yeah, so we don't wanna agree to paying half.
The only thing that you're paying for is just your additional piece, which the footages are already specified, everything is account. I'm not sure how we're gonna save anything because we're locked in on the footages.
And my second, in terms of having to pay, obviously we've got 10,000. The other suggestion to the board would be, I guess, make a request. We are operating under an agreement with the mayor's office that the gravel or the impervious surface fee has been impounded or escrowed. Let's make a request to the mayor's office. By agreement of both parties, we can spend that money. And perhaps that's a good source, if the mayor so agrees with us, to take the 23,000 out of there.
Release 3360 out of the escrow.
Well, it would only be the 23 because we're going to use
financially with the
fee.
tap on.
Yeah. So I guess it'd be a request from this board to the mayor to agree.
I rescind my second.
I'll take my motion.
And I just wanna add this, John made a point when they asked us to look into this, that we specifically only figure out what the additional cost based upon the additional footage would be. And so we're dealing with pretty precise numbers. So that's where we came up with the number, maybe fun that I put $60 on there.
So I make a motion.
Hold on. So we have a motion on the floor.
No, he rescinded it.
I know, we rescinded it second.
You rescinded his first.
Okay, first, okay, I'll stand corrected.
So go ahead, Mark.
Go ahead and make a motion to approve the board paying into this project $33,000 or $33,060 for this project.
Second.
Any other discussion on that motion? Chris, would you call roll, please?
All right, Member Modesto?
Yes.
Member Clem?
Yes.
Member Williams?
Yes.
Member Cannon?
Yes.
Member Zilli?
Yes.
Member Lynch?
Yes.
Member Prisco?
Yes.
All right, motion carries. Next item is the recommendation on impervious surface gravel calculation. I know, Mark, your committee met on this. Would you like to address this, please?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Last month at this meeting, at our board meeting, utility service board meeting, you asked me if I would set up a team from this board, and I did. I chose Pat Clem and Sue Lynch. On last month on the 17th, on April 17th at 3 o'clock, we had a meeting, okay? The meeting went fairly well. We talked about various options. We looked at the appeals that you had given me, the 4 appeals. I worked with Wessler Group, with Atkins, with Mary Atkins. I asked her to forward me the parcels with gravel. The discussion with councilperson, board member Glenn, and councilperson, board member Lynch was excellent. Probably went for an hour. The group at that meeting thought that it would benefit the people in the city of Portage, their parcels with gravel, that had gravel, not being a hard surface. Although back and forth, it is considered impervious, or impervious, I should say, impervious. But as a group meeting, what we came up with through our dialogue is that any parcels, the businesses with gravel, the charge would be 1/3 of what the original cost was. I think that was held up by all of us. I think the dialogue that Pat had was excellent. During that time also, we did vote on that at that meeting, but during that time also, we talked about if a company was to pay their fee for a year and the residents, and this was Mr. Clem came up with this, Pat Clem, that they would get a break. And we talked about that, but didn't vote on it, but I think that's gonna come up later this evening. So if Councilperson Clem or Councilperson Lynch was to talk, but if not, I would basically ask the board in a motion form that all gravel is taken down to 1/3 for any parcel for a business.
Yeah, and to clarify what you're saying, Mark, just because the ordinance that you'll see later tonight is not 1/3 of the cost, it's 1/3 of the size of gravel. So if you have 100,000 square feet of gravel, we're only gonna count 33,000. Right. It may or may not affect the cost depending on where you fall in the rate chart.
For gravel.
Yeah.
This is a recommendation to the council.
It's a recommendation.
To the council.
I'll make that recommendation and feel free to discuss it.
Is this something we can do under the agreed order?
Yes.
Can we change?
Yes.
Because we're lowering, not increasing.
Correct.
Okay.
And of course, the mayor can veto the ordinance.
I'm gonna second it.
Or do we have a
Second
motion?
you made a motion, right?
Yeah, I made a motion. Just to make another comment, just during that, or after that meeting, there was some talk. talked to Councilman Clint. In the original fee for people that own homes, homeowners of Portage, if they were to pay their sanitary sewer bill, their stormwater, for the whole year, they would get a break of 5%. Now, later this evening, and I'll make this motion, I guess I'll add this to it.
Okay, so you want to amend your original motion?
Can I add my original motion?
Yeah,
I can add the
you can amend your original motion, then we'll vote on the amendment.
We have an ordinance coming up later this evening that any person paying a bill or a business, a homeowner, an industrial site, if they pay it up annually, that they get a 10% rake on their bill if they pay it annually. And in this case, I guess, Chris, didn't we talk about starting this possibly the second half of this year, July, once the billings went out?
Sure, we can
6
do
months.
that. Mm-hmm.
Can I go even
You get
further?
10%.
Can I go even
Fantastic, thank you.
Can I go further? Because I think we've heard from.
We have an amendment to the main motion on the floor.
I got, can we have discussion over it?
Yes, but we need a second on the amendment.
I'll second that.
Yes.
All right, thank you. So now you can.
Okay, I've heard from a lot of the seniors and they're asking for a discount on the impervious surface fee too, because we gave them a discount on their trash collection. And they would like to have a 10% discount also. We're giving them a $3, no, we're not. We're talking about only if they pay it all up front. I'm talking about if they pay it monthly. I think that would be a good idea to give them a 10% discount too, even if they pay it monthly. If they don't, some of them don't have the funds to pay it all up front the first year. And we give a $3 discount for trash collection, so why can't we give them a discount on the impervious surface fee too for the seniors?
So Liz, are you saying that they have to apply for this like they do?
Exactly, just how they do the garbage fee.
Yeah, but that's too much work. Just make it 10% flat across the bill. Why make them apply for a trash discount and then an impervious surface discount that's $1.20 for them?
Okay,
Just give them 10% off the bill if you're going to do it. You
If
know?
they pay it annually.
No. I'm saying for seniors. Right now, seniors get $3 off trash only.
Right.
They pay full sewer. They pay full stormwater. Stormwater's $12 and sewer's $23.50 or something. Liz is saying extend the 10% discount or the discount from $3 to trash and add $1.20 for
I see
for
where you're
stormwater. But that's too much work for. Just make it 10%.
Just take the whole $65 bill
Simplify
and
it.
take a 10% discount if you're a senior.
Right.
So you'll get $6.50 off your entire.
$6.30 because it's a $63 bill. Yeah.
That's what I would like seeing.
Perfect. Yeah,
Yeah.
sorry, I'm thinking of the
I agree.
full amount.
Go ahead.
So in December, I asked if we could discount people's residents' bills if they paid via the internet or direct withdrawal from their checking account, and we were told at that point we couldn't do those kind of discounts. Why are these discounts different?
Who told you that we couldn't do it?
I can pull the email up from December.
Okay, but if we can do it now, I mean, are you supportive of that?
Well, I would like to add that if you do not have to use our services at City Hall, if you're paying via online or via your checking account, you would get a discount as well. I mean, if we're gonna.
You used to have to pay a fee to do that, now you don't pay the fee, right?
That's
No
correct.
fee.
Right.
I don't recall that ever being
discussed.
Well, the incentive is not to have them come into City Hall and bog down our ladies. I think that's the incentive.
Yeah, and that's good too. My only suggestion would be you make it if it's paperless, if they sign up for paperless billing. Because right now we have a lot of people that pay online, but they still receive a paper bill and it costs us the same.
We would put paperless in there. But at that time in December, we were told we couldn't do it, so something must have.
My other caution is, I think it's the more we get to use online is great. Now remember, we've got our fixed costs. The office costs what the office costs. Unless this board is talking about changing that, we've got that in there, and we're discounting, and at some point it gets out of whack. So we got to make sure we just keep it in balance.
I think we do have a very tight budget. We've said that all along. If we continue to appropriate and give discounts for various reasons, it could have an effect on our budget.
If I could also ask a question, is it possible to discount a resident that has a gravel driveway?
Well, all residents pay the same. They pay $12.50.
Understand?
They have, theirs has a person.
But
It's illegal to have equipment in city parks.
All right,
we got.
we have a motion on the floor that's been amended.
So we're not.
We don't want to screw.
We have a motion on the floor that's been amended to
I know there's
include
people out there, but
a 10% across the board discount for seniors.
No, he didn't put that in there.
Okay.
We'll discuss that at the council meeting.
For homeowners.
All right, so we have a motion that was amended though, correct?
to a 10% discount annually paid.
Right.
You pay it annually for businesses.
And there was a second on that motion?
Then we'll do the senior one.
Second.
And we also
We have a second.
Okay. This
Let's
is
call roll.
just the 10% discount on the paying up front.
Paying up front.
And then we also had the gravel.
And the
part
one,
also.
And the gravel.
gravel.
after the
33.3%.
ordinance, by 31st. 10% discount. It's already in the ordinance.
Oh, John just brought to my attention.
I believe it's already in the
This is
ordinance.
just a recommendation for the council anyway, so.
Who wrote the ordinance?
I did.
Oh.
I don't have it memorized.
I understand.
don't have it.
This is a recommendation to the council.
Yes, it's a recommendation.
Well, it says, section 4, number F says each customer that prepays the entire amount owed under this article for the current year or on or before the 31st of the year shall be entitled to a discount of 10%. It's already in the
Are
ordinance.
you reading the ordinance?
No, that's the ordinance we're gonna,
That's
that's on the
It
agenda
was
for
5%.
tonight.
It was 5% for houses, John.
That's what the amendment is.
Yeah, we
And
didn't
we're
have
just
for
making a
businesses.
recommendation.
That's not in current code.
Right.
That's on the agenda to change the code tonight.
Yes.
This is the utility board making a recommendation to the city
Favorable or
council.
not favorable recommendation from this.
All right, Chris, would you call the roll on this motion, please?
Okay, just to clarify for everyone, this is the motion to recommend to the council approving gravel calculation at 1/3 and a 10% prepaid discount. Member Modesto.
Yes.
Member Clem.
Yes.
Member Cannon.
No.
Member Williams.
Yes.
Member Zilli.
Yes.
Member Lynch.
Yes.
Member Prisco.
Yes.
Okay. Now, go ahead, Liz.
I'd like to make a recommendation that we give a 10%
A
discount.
recommendation or a motion?
A motion to make give a recommendation to the council to give a 10% discount to senior citizens across the board.
I'll second that.
Now, I have a.
Discussion?
Chris, that just doesn't automatically happen. They have to apply for it. Right?
Correct.
Because if we just say that, then I don't want seniors thinking because they're a senior, they automatically get it. They
We don't
have
know.
to
You have to
apply for it.
inform the city
You
that
have to
that's,
let them
yeah,
know that they have to come in and apply.
because people move and.
The same parameters that apply to the garbage discount right now.
So are we changing the garbage discount at some point?
Well, you'll have to change it at the
Pat
council
has a
meeting,
question,
yeah.
Scott.
Pat?
Chairman, can we reach out to the Bonner Senior Center with all the seniors and do a letter to them to hand out there? For them to acknowledge this
Yes.
new, thank
Why
you.
don't we just?
We can also put it on the bill.
Yeah, put it on the bill.
That, yes, do that as well. Yes, thank you.
I think.
Assuming it passes at the council level.
Yeah, well, that's true, yeah.
But yeah.
Okay, I made a motion.
There's a
I second
second. Any other discussion? Chris, call roll, please.
Member Modesto.
Yes.
Member Clem.
Yes.
Member Williams, I keep calling you the board.
That's okay, yes.
Member Cannon.
Yes.
Member Zilli.
Yes.
Member Lynch.
Yes.
Member Prisco.
Yes.
All right. Very good. This gets us to, we've got about 17 minutes.
Are we doing letter C?
Encroachment.
You've got two encroachment requests.
We have two requests for encroachment on easements. Both are for fences, correct?
No, one's a pool and one's a fence.
One's a
Dan Commenda has seen the Boardwalk Circle one. He has not yet seen the Fifield, right?
We did.
You did. Okay, so both of them.
Okay, so utility field services has seen both of these and don't have a problem with the encroachment in the easement, so.
I'll make a motion to approve both.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, all those opposed, same sign. Okay. Easements, encroachment approved. All right, this is the point where we have public input, remonstrances, and any other business. I would ask you, if you have public input, try to be succinct to the point. so we can hopefully hear everybody. We have to conclude at 6:30. So if you come up and please state your name, you can get in line. We can move this along. And state your name and address, please.
Reverend Michael Cooper, 5455 Woodland Road, 120 Portage. Mr. Chairman, I would like to address an interchange that occurred at last month's meeting where when Miss Mary Atkins of Westler Engineering, at your request, Mr. Chairman, stood before this body to provide background for the work that Westler Engineering had been contracted for this board. I was taken back at the treatment that Ms. Atkins was given by City Councilor Patrick Clem, which in my observation was unprofessional and demeaning. City Councilor Sue Lynch, during the meeting, called Councilor Clem's questioning as, quote, rude, to which Councilor Clem replied, too bad. I request that the Portage Utility Board issue a formal apology to Ms. Atkins and to Councilor Lynch. Councilor Clem's actions to belittle two women is inconsistent with the values of this city and inconsistent with the values of the Democratic Party that he represents. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Reverend. Appreciate that. So, duly noted. Name and address, please.
My name is Charles Lindstrom, and I'd like to appeal the utility bill. I own a piece of property that is not, I don't have any of the utilities. There's no water, there's no sewer, there's no stormwater. And so I've never got a bill to get a revised bill.
Here's what we're going to do, Mr. Lindstrom. We certainly want to address your concern. So I will meet with you. I'll get your contact information and I'll meet with you and communicate what you have to do. There's a procedure that you need to follow. So
he's one of the ones that
follow the procedure.
For a couple of weeks, I've been working on it.
Okay.
Yeah, we have your appeal. You'll be getting a letter. Probably maybe it didn't come today, or I assume tomorrow. So we'll follow up with you after the meeting and tell you your appeal didn't meet the as written. Just needs to be modified.
Worded right.
Yeah, just got to modify it and then file it, and then we'll take the board.
If I word it right.
What's that?
It's an okey dokey. It's
no, then we can at least
right.
Then we can proceed on it. The problem is, the problem is the ordinance doesn't allow for appeals based on that you haven't received services before. Yeah, the appeals are for like calculations and things like that. So if you request us to recalculate, then we can go ahead and process the appeal. So that's what the letter says that you're going to get. We'll work with you on it, and we want to get your appeal processed. We just got to get the right paperwork in order.
Okay, it'll be recorded that I don't have no services, right?
Yeah. It's on camera.
Okay, Mr. Thank you. Next, please.
Robert and Danielle Wilson at 2552 Dombey. It's a vacant property. I think we're pretty much the same as him.
What's the address, please?
2552 Dombey. It's vacant property. There's no structures, no drives, no nothing, and there's no stormwater drainage down Dombey at all. And it's sand. So my water is going nowhere but my property.
So you got a bill for 2522?
Yes.
For a vacant lot?
Yes.
All lots good. All lots good.
Oh, okay. All right. So have you filed?
We did bring a letter in. Is there any more we need to do?
You're going to fall in the same category as Mr. Lindstrom is. The way the ordinance is written, this board is going to be hand-tied, frankly.
Yeah, because you guys, I just want to point out, you guys have been saying imperious area, and there is none. So, we're being taxed for something that's not even there. Like, if I had a house, I'd pay it, no problem. But there's nothing else. So it's kind of
the board will have to. The board would have to.
Yeah, and also
the council.
We haven't hit everyone in the city.
All right, this, again, what Chris is saying, our hands are sort of tied
with
respect to the ordinance. So it would require some amendment to that ordinance. So, now that we're aware of this issue, this is something we can address.
All right.
there anything we need to do from our point though, or
You
just?
do have something to write from them?
Yeah, everything, yeah,
Okay, all right.
You gotta.
Nothing at this
Yeah,
point.
paperwork.
There's nothing to appeal right now because.
Can I get your last name again, please?
Wilson.
I'll give you the pen. Cause I think I talked to you, Danielle, right?
Yes, and then you tried,
then,
and I'm
yeah.
sorry.
No, that's okay, yeah.
I got a question for you, how much you getting billed?
$12, and if we miss with the late fee, it's $13.20. It's just like he said, there's no gravel, it's all sand. It's just flat.
Like I said, right now older people have vacant land, you guys haven't gotten to them.
And originally, it was a parcel of 10 acres, and it's all owned by us, like his parents own the other 9. And it's all the same land, they have the
Yeah.
or they have this bill.
Oh, they're getting taxed, or they're getting
On their home.
the fee on it.
All right,
All right,
thank you.
Good evening, I'm Mike Doyne, President of Doyne Marine, 1340 Crispin Road. My manager and Vice President Al Bridges has been talking to you in the past meetings. I just find this tax amazing. Today, you're cutting it back by 1/3 is what you're talking about.
You'll actually cut it back by 2/3?
You're gonna be paying 1/3.
I pay 1/3. So it was mentioned around that nobody had in the budget to do this extension for the sewer on Crispin Road. But you're asking me to put into my budget originally to pay 41% of that sewer extension, $14,000 for the year. And the newest thing is going to be, I think, around 16% of that sewer. One business that has nothing to do with the sewer. We don't have any drainage off of our property. It goes to Burns Waterway just like the rest of the city does. So I just find this, when it was $12 a month, it was just a nuisance, we paid it. But now that it's this kind of money, $400 a month, it's extreme. Back in the day, some of you will remember, there used to be license plates. Indiana land to high taxes. Well, let's not have license plates going around in red and white. Portage, Indiana, land to high taxes. We want to have these businesses in here. We want development to take place. I'd like to see what the rates are for Ameriplex, for instance. How much money are they spending on all that pavement over there? You know, it's public record, right? And you know, and I'd like to know where I can see that. I'd like to see the statutes of enablement for you to charge this stuff. And it's just, even at 1/3 of what you originally put, it's an extreme burden. That basically would cover a Portage High School person coming out to work and collecting ramp or something for the summer. One part-time worker. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're absolutely correct.
Yes, sir.
James Pilecki, there's a 6094 US Highway 20, we're also known as A1U storage. I'd like to thank everybody on the board for addressing the stormwater issues and by trying to come up with a remedy to all of us, as well as the Doyne people over there. Like Mr. Doyne said, there is extenuating circumstances on our part, since you are looking at our appeals. I'd like to recommend that areas like mine and his, where we don't have any direct impact on your stormwater plant going through your stormwater system or our stormwater system, you know, maybe have an area or zone. We're not tied into city sewer, we're not tied into, we have our own retention pond, they have, you know, Burns Harbor Waterway. So I'd like to know if you could maybe help us out a little more by looking at the different zones which directly and indirectly affect your plant. I'm sure that the people out on US 6, Walmart, and those areas, they have a direct impact on your sewer system. Whereas again, we don't. I'd also like to ask you for a reconsideration for the recalculation of the impervious surface. Talking to some surveyors today, there are calculations available for grass, rock and gravel, and asphalt. They have a certain number that they attach to each one of these. You can look at those and to see to what degree of seep these different types of soils cause. And another way for us, maybe we can take a look at, in order for us to remain competitive, I've done some comparisons. Bennett Storage out on US 20 over in Chesterton, they pay about $172 a month for theirs, where mine is going to be $400. All About Storage out in Clover, which is Lake County, they pay about $330 a month, which is included on their tax bill. Okay, so both of them would be quite less than me. They all have more rock area than I do. I have the exact numbers if you need them. And so, basically, I'm asking you guys to do a little reevaluation on the impact of on our city from us in regard to pervious versus impervious, and then maybe do a comparison, which is what we do on our taxes in order to keep our taxes down. And other than that, I'd like to thank everybody. And I have one other question for you. You're going to reduce the gravel area by 1/3 or the amount of our bill by 1/3?
The gravel area,
not the.
Yeah, so that's going to be
2/3. By 2/3.
It's going to bring me down from the over 200, almost 300 square feet, 300,000 square feet, just under 200,000 square feet. Where would that have me? Where would my bill be then?
$480
which is
a month.
still, quite a bit of money. That's a vehicle for us to, grade our road or whatever we have to do. So I'm asking you to reconsider and maybe put the council back together and see if they can just, sharpen their pencil a little bit for us. We've been long-standing members of this community. Joy's been here longer than I have.
Well, we appreciate your input. I've taken some notes. Thank you very much.
I appreciate your time.
Yes, thank you, sir. All right, very good. That should conclude the public input.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
There's all those in favor signify by saying aye.